Hello, Squeak Squad, and welcome to Sydney's reading log for November 2024. This is the final video I'm filming this year. The rest of my videos are going to be filmed next year. The rest of my videos. I'm going to pick up filming again next year with my usual stuff. So I'm going to start with 7 Cs this time, starting with 2.5 Dimensional Seduction, Volume 12. Another great volume of this series. I love all of the different cosplays the group's doing together, all the growth with them, introducing a new character that is kind of playing off of another character. It was a really good volume. I always love 2.5 Dimensional. We've got Black Knight Parade, Volume 5. Hard to explain what's going on in this volume without spoiling things. It definitely seems like there's a slightly less twist than the usual volume, but that doesn't mean this volume's without twists, because this series is all over the place. It's really enjoyable, though, especially for the holiday season. Then we've got Crossplay Love Otaku X Punk, Volume 10. It seems like we're getting very close to potentially the secret getting out about the two of them. I will say that this is just a red herring right here. I don't know why they put it on the back. The whole thing about, both of them cross-dressing, that sort of thing. School Festival happens this volume. Cute fun. We actually get some more growth between the two main characters as they present male instead of presenting female. We get some growth in their relationship, which is good. Then we've got the first volume of Diary of a Female Lead, Shujinko Nikki, Volume 1. This is a series about a girl who sees herself as fairly average, with a mother who writes shoujo manga, and she falls in love with... Well, no, she doesn't fall in love with somebody yet. She is... That's right. Her brother wants her to become the protagonist of a shoujo series. Like, he wants her to experience that life because she's very not popular, and he's very popular. And we get to have seemingly a relationship or some romance starting to develop between her and potentially her older brother's friend. It was an enjoyable first volume. Looking forward to reading more of it. Then we've got 2 volumes of His Majesty the Demon King's Housekeeper, because one of them did not... I didn't order one of them because it got missed in my releases. We've got the... I think this is... Actually, no. This one's finishing their quest in the Little Mermaid Kingdom thing, which is why they're both mermaided up here. And this one is... Let's see. Oh, actually... Oh, that's weird. The one that actually has the more mermaid content, I believe, is this one, but this one, oh, I don't know. Anyways, mermaid content. Then we have, let's see. I don't really remember what happens aside from the tiny little mermaid pond arc. Still love this series, though. They still have not found the cause of the mold, I don't believe. I think they might be very close to it. Then we've got I'm in Love with the Villainess, Volume 7 of the manga. We introduce a new girl who is crazy about the main lead and causes a lot of jealousy from Miss Blondie here. It's a very good read. I love how it doesn't shy away from all of the more difficult topics like same-sex relationships and how other people perceive them. Next, we've got No Longer Allowed in Another World, Volume 7. We have the arc with... I'm trying to figure out how to say this without spoiling it. Yes, we've got an arc finishing up here. I can't say in detail about what the arc's about. It's just about essentially something unexpected happening, a big fight, and then I think they actually do wrap up a story in this volume. I'm not sure. I don't think the main character writes the final story of him. I think his story just ends. But I'm trying to be vague to, preserve the integrity of the non-spoilers of the series. Then we've got the final volume of The Tree of Death, Yomotsu Hegui, Volume 3. Unfortunately, it did feel very rushed. It really felt like in the first couple of chapters we were introducing a bunch of new threats, and then everything got wrapped up very fast. Regardless, I think it had a decent ending, and I would definitely recommend this series to anybody who's interested in horror or horror action. It's got really great art that looks very Lovecraft-inspired and a compelling, interesting story. Then we've got Volume 6 of The Weakest Tamer Began on a Journey to Pick Up Trash. We have, I think we actually have the arc with the, oh yeah, no, it is the kidnapping ring. The arc of the kidnapping ring coming close to a head with, I believe the characters almost find out who it is in this volume, or just find out. We're past this in the anime, so my memory gets a little mixed up between the manga and the anime. Regardless, that's all of our standard size 7Cs. Now for the oversized 7Cs, we've got I Ship My Rival X Me. This is a series about a guy who essentially seems to develop feelings for another guy. Well, develop feelings. Essentially, they're both actors. He's jealous of his success and his talent, even though I think they're similar ages. They have a rivalry, but it seems like it's a very one-sided thing. One of them seems to be a lot more popular than the other. But he gets into the shipping culture. Like, he just happens to run across a Weibo post about it, and then falls deep into shipping himself and his rival. And we get some romance and romantic subplots from that. Their relationship grows. It's really fun read so far, especially if you're into... It seems like they have a lot of, like, references to, like, period Danmei. By references, I just mean how they dress and how their actors typically... what type of roles their actors typically go in. It's an interesting series so far. It's only the first volume. I can't give it too in detail yet. Then we've got Monster Cats Volume 2 by Pandania. This is just a 4-coma, so there's not really much I can say about it, aside from it's just always enjoyable to read. Next up, we've got Dangerous Convenience Store, Volume 4. We have got a lot of things happening in this volume with the main male lead and I can't say main male lead if it's a BL. The older male lead, the Yakuza guy. And we seem to have the relationship potentially fully forming, but it's left ambiguous what's going to happen until the next volume. It's an enjoyable BL series. Probably my favorite out of the BL manhwa I own, but I don't really own that many of them. Speaking of, we've got Iliad Volume 4. It's hard to follow the plot in this series, if I'm being frank, just because it's a while between releases, and Egyptian mythology is so out of my depth. Like, it's following a existing story and kind of interpreting things differently, I think. I don't know exactly. It's still a really interesting read. If you are interested in getting the explicit version, from what I can tell so far, all of the explicit scenes are essentially just essay. So just be advised about that if you ever have any interest in it. It's an interesting read for sure. It just takes me a while to actually understand what's going on and remember all the details. Then we've got Thunder 3 by Yuki Ikeda, which is our first Kodansha release read for the month. It's about these 3 boys from, I think it's a gag, I don't know if it's a gag comic or a... it's essentially a comic series with a much different art style, a much cuter, like, slice-of-life art style, and their sister ends up getting kidnapped because they accidentally go into a TV world, or a world inside a videotape, I believe? A disc. Yeah, they watched a disc, watched a DVD that their teacher gave them, and got transported into this hyper-realistic manga world, and they're... I say they're not all brothers. One of them is a brother to the sister who gets kidnapped in this photorealistic world. So they're all trying to essentially save her. And it's really, really interesting, and I would definitely recommend just to give it a shot. It's not like anything I've read so far. It's really cool. Then we've got Origin 7 by Boichi. We have finished things off with the Kyoto facility attack arc, and we are dealing with the repercussions in this volume, and we are getting some revelations about his father and the role AEE Robotics played in his father's life in general. Still really interesting story. Only a few volumes left of it, so I'm very curious to see what's going to happen to wrap things up. Continuing with Kodansha, we've got One Dance Volume 11. Honestly, this is a fairly thin volume for One Dance. Let's see if I remember what's going on in this. I actually don't remember much of this volume. I do remember that, what is his name? Cabo. I remember Cabo actually takes a kind of center role in the dancing in this volume, which is nice. He's being more expressive and open thanks to Wanda. I still enjoy the series. I just really don't remember much about the volume, if I'm being frank. Then we've got Quality Assurance in Another World, Volume 10. We had a lot of heavy stuff happening in the last volume, and now we are continuing on to, try and continue finding debuggers. We've basically finished the last arc up, and in this volume is pretty much completely about getting trapped on a remote part of the world where there's no way to get to any other part of the world. It's really interesting to see how they get out, and it's probably a lot of fun to read if you are a game developer or have rudimentary knowledge about programming. Then we've got Nina the Starry Bride, Volume 7. We are in the prison now, and we are trying to essentially find a way to get out of the prison. Being intentionally vague here. Still a really interesting, good story, and I definitely recommend to check out the anime to see if you're interested in the source material. But I will note, I think the anime isn't the best animated, and it's not the best adaptation. It's a serviceable adaptation to kind of get a hold of the story, but the manga definitely is where it's at when it comes to the art, because the art's beautiful, and the overall story. Next, we've got Medalist, Volume 5. We have, I believe she finishes her performance in the not championship, what is it called? I think, is it the All Japan Championship? The Chubu Block Tournament, that's it, yes. I think she's finishing her performance in the Chubu Block Tournament. The series was a really fun, good drama about ice skating. It's like a drama comedy, kind of. Very informative, very gripping read. You really feel for the characters. I think it's a very well-written series so far. Even that wasn't a word that I said. Regardless, I have volumes 2 and 3 of I See Your Face Turned Away. I really like these covers and how they're just a basic, stripped-back picture of the character that it's mainly focusing on. I kind of got the wrong impression about this series. I thought it was going to be just the shy girl realizing she had a crush on one of her classmates, but it actually is kind of going through each of the classmates and different characters in the school and expounding upon their perceptions of love and their potential love lives. And we have, different focuses on each volume. I think it's a really, really interesting series so far, and I don't want to spoil too much about the love triangles and that sort of thing. I think it's definitely worth reading if you're into romance just in general. Then we've got the last of the not crazy size Kodansha releases with Gachia Kuda, Volume 4. We have Rudo realizing what his power actually means and trying to actually fully realize it. Let's see. And I don't remember. I think there was I don't remember if there's a big fight or not at the end of this volume. No, we just have we have them traveling on a new assignment, and the next volume is going to be probably a lot of story things happening or a major fight. I can't exactly predict. I also don't remember fully what happened at the very end. It's a good series. It's interesting. I think there's an anime coming out for it, so check that out if you're interested in it. I don't think I get as hyped about it as I've seen a lot of other people, but I think it's still enjoyable, good, well-written shonen. Then we've got Big Honker, Vinland Saga Deluxe, Volume 5, and I believe this finishes the farm arc, and we are getting into what's going to, I would assume at least, take a lot of the story going forward. Still in love with this series. I think Yukimura is an amazing writer. Has great characters that are deep, well written, and has a compelling story to tell in his series. So again, I say this every time. Definitely recommend this. Of course, it's expensive to get the manga just because it's only available in omnibuses or giant omnibuses, so definitely try the anime first. Then we've got Licorice Recoil, Volume 1, Part of me feels like I already talked about reading this, but I guess I didn't. I really liked the anime for this. Essentially, these two girls who are sort of like spies in high school who live undercover lives. I don't think they're actually in high school. They're just disguised as high school girls, but they're actually assassin spies. Um, and this one essentially ends up getting reassigned to her branch, and they're both very different personalities, and they're learning to live with each other, and she's trying to learn to be looser, and she's trying to learn to be more... I don't know if she's even trying to be more with the rules or that sort of thing. I feel like she has more of an influence on her than she does on her, but I can't say for sure. It's an enjoyable read. The anime was great. I don't know if the manga stacks up to it yet. Then we've got Oshinoko, Volume 8. We have a lot of actual, not just acting or idol stuff this volume. We have character growth in this volume and exploring things that happened. Essentially just Aqua revisiting where he was killed, and I don't think there was actually much else. I think yeah, most of the volume is that and the effects that has on the group. But they end up going to that area because he's joining the idol group on a trip to film a music video, I think. Yeah, as they shoot a music video for their original song, their first one, I think. Also, these last two volumes were Yen Press, and I always forget to transition between publishers. Then we've got Shadow's House Volume 7, and I didn't realize until recently that I did not order this when it came out. I think it actually came out in September. Yeah, September, and I read it in November, so not on the ball with that one. We have more stuff about the incident that happened. This is another series I can't really get into details about without spoiling things. It's a good series, very investing, but I don't want to talk too much about it because it would spoil a lot of what's going on currently. And that's definitely going to be the case for some of these later volumes of other series as well. I am realizing this is a very thin volume of Raeliana. Why Raeliana ended up at the Duke's Mansion, Volume 8. And we're getting into the oversized yen presses now. We kind of have more in-detail exploration of why Raeliana is in... why she reincarnated into... No, I think I'm thinking of the other series. Yes, why... When she died, she reincarnated into Raeliana's body, and why the other character who we think is supposed to be, well, that's a big spoiler, so I'm going to kind of hold off on it, but we have a lot of exploration of why she ended up in Raeliana's body and what effects that had on the world around them. Very interesting stuff that happened in this volume. I really liked how the story developed. Then we've got The Villainess Turns the Hourglass, Volume 5. Let's see. Yes, we have the Villainess trial, as always goes in these series. That's pretty much the main thing that happens in this volume, I think. The Villainess trial, and what happens from that, because Miel, who is the heroine, ended up pushing her father down the stairs and blaming her, so we're kind of trying to clear her name in this process. Very good read. Great Villainess series. Then we've got Tied to You, Volume 3. And in this volume we finally have the full love triangle completely forming. It was vague before, now there's definitely a love triangle, and I am really starting to dislike the main romantic interest, the older guy, because he's being shown as so manipulative, and it is driving me insane. I'm not a huge fan of this series, unfortunately, at this point. Then we've got A Business Proposal, Volume 7, complete with jealousy from the main girl, and her best friend essentially just begging her to get married already so that her and the other guy can get married. Very fun, good series, pretty well written, and I like the jealousy when it's these older characters that are more mature with their feelings. Then we've got Bocchi the Rock, Volume 5. We are introduced to some new part-timers in this volume. We are trying to get their first, instead of their first album, their first mini-album recorded as well. A lot of things happen in that process. It's good. I really hope the anime gets a second season because I definitely feel like I prefer the anime to the manga. Then we've got The Abandoned Empress, Volume 9. I don't want to show the cover. Actually, I'll show the cover, but I'll say spoilers if you actually are interested in it, and then I'll remove my hand because it pretty much just spoils what happens at the end of the series. The series wraps up in this volume. It was an enjoyable series. I think the ending is overhated 100%. I was of the opinion that this shouldn't have happened, but in the last couple volumes, it really did help move my thoughts to kind of accept this as the final fate for the characters and made it feel less out of nowhere, so I really appreciate that. And then we're going to get into a bunch of Viz releases, starting with Dark Gathering Volume 10. We are having the fight at the... Actually, yes. I think the fight at the dam is the first half of this volume, and then it's essentially just finishing up the fight at the dam and then moving on to the next haunted spot. But the main character is put in the most peril he's ever been in so far. So I'm not sure what effects that's going to have on the story or his psyche. Still a really enjoyable horror read, though. Then we've got Gokurakugai, Volume 3. I think I'm starting to grow on Gokurakugai a little bit more. I think the story mostly focuses on the young girl that they run into who is having issues with keeping food down. Kind of being a bit vague there. And we have some realizations from the characters and some shonen battle growth at the end of the volume for the main character. Starting to enjoy the series more. I'm not in love with it yet. Next, we've got The Big Old Boy Kagurabachi Volume 1, series about a boy whose father was a master swordsmith who essentially crafted enchantments into swords, and there were six katanas that his father crafted, and his father was killed before his eyes, and the main character is going out to seek revenge on the people who killed his father. That's the basic premise. I think it's a very fun, interesting read so far. The art's good. I love the power system and how the powers are illustrated in the series, and I'm really looking forward to seeing more of it. Then we've got One Piece Volume 107. I think we're almost at the end of Vegapunk, or the Vegapunk Eggland Island arc. In this volume, we have a lot of things happening with different parts of the world, mainly just stuff with the revolutionaries and stuff with the world government, and then some stuff happening with Garp and Kobe on Blackbeard's Island. I don't really have much else positive to say about One Piece. I always say the same thing every time about it because it's my favorite series, so I'll just kind of leave it at that. We've next got Sakamoto Days, Volume 14. I think we're finishing up the flashback in this volume, or we're getting very close to finishing the flashback. Let's see. Yeah, we finish up the flashback, and then we're moving on to the next mission of the main characters, which... Oh, actually, I don't think they talk about the main mission of the characters after that, because I think a decent amount of the volume is involving the flashback and finishing it up. But regardless, great series, good art, good action, decent characters. I'd recommend to give it a shot. Then we've got the next addition to the Before X series, which is Wanted, Eiichiro Oda Before One Piece. This features one-shots such as Wanted and Monsters, which got a Netflix adaptation recently. A bunch of one-shots of Oda's before he went on to work on One Piece. I really like this collection of one-shots, even if some of them weren't that great. You can kind of see Oda in each of them, so I really appreciated this compilation volume. And I'd recommend it to anybody who likes One Piece. Next, we've got In the Name of the Mermaid Princess, Volume 4. We have a bit of a plot twist in this volume, something that's not the biggest surprise in the world. We have more things about Mia being kept captive and her making allies with the other people who are kept captive and how she's able to get free from captivity. Good series. Feels like a classic shoujo, even though it's not. Then we've got Like a Butterfly Volume 9. We've got some conflict in the main two characters' relationships. I think it was started in the previous volume, and it's kind of coming to a head in this volume. I like the way the characters are written, and that their frustrations with each other feel very authentic. I think the art's also really pretty in this series because Morishita does very good, seemingly standard but well-refined shoujo art. So I'm really enjoying it so far. Then we've got My Special One, Volume 8, and this seems to be finishing off the arc of these two side characters that are kind of had like some time dedicated to their relationship. I believe we finished that up, or we're very close to finishing their romantic arc, which I enjoy as a nice change of pace away from the main two characters because I wasn't a huge fan of their relationship after it fully developed. Then we've got Sakura Saku, Volume 5, and we have more complications with the guardian angel / person who saved her in the past, and her kind of trying to realize her feelings and how those are affected by who saved her and who she feels romantically about now. We still don't have any like solid, well-formed romantic relationships yet, I don't believe. I think we are getting close to getting the romance started, or getting the romantic relationship formed in this probably the next couple volumes. Then we've got really hyped shoujo beat series called Colette Decides to Die, about a young apothecary who falls down a well after being overworked in her village and finds that she ended up in hell, and she is treating... Oh, it's not hell, it's the realm of Hades. I don't remember what the actual place is called. She ends up in the land of the dead, and she finds Hades in bed with a malady and essentially forces herself... He doesn't want her to, but she treats him and is trying to take care of him. And it's about her realizing her worth, her taking care of Hades and kind of learning from the experience, and Hades learning to be more open about it, and exploring both of their characters. It's a very, very good shoujo series, and I would definitely recommend it, even if you don't really like shoujo, because it's got a lot of elements to it, so it's not purely romance. It's very good so far, and I'm looking forward to reading more of it. Then we have the final volume of Helk, which is volume 12. I kind of did not like the ending of this volume. It did feel a lot like that shonen trope of just the main character being the absolute strongest and being able to solve anything because of they are who they are. So the ending was a little bit soured for me. I think it was an enjoyable ride overall. I'm curious to see what happens next, because I know it has a sequel series, so I might read that if it ever comes out over here, but I think I'm overall mixed on Helk in general. Then we've got a couple oversized vises with Hirayasumi, Volume 3. We have some hints at romance between different characters. We've got the little sister finally getting published in a manga magazine and what that means for her and her friends. And we've got a side relationship seeming to form. It's a slice of life series, so there's not a lot of serious things happening. I still really enjoy it. It's a nice, calm, cute read. Then we've got JoJo's Bizarre Adventure Stone Ocean Volume 7. We have the unfortunate realization in this volume that they were not allowed to directly reference Mickey Mouse. Actually, no, I think that was the previous volume. Yeah, no, that was the previous volume. This volume we have the Sons of Dio arc. I think it begins, and it not begins, we finished the Sons of Dio arc in this volume, and we are moving on to big plot twist with Weather Report. So, exciting, good read, love the series, best JoJo part in my opinion, but that's very, very biased. Then we've got a few publishers I don't have a lot of series from, starting with Demons of the Shadow Realm, Volume 6. We've got the main character actually escaping from his hostage situation, and We have more exploration of Yoru's area, things that are happening there. Trying to be a bit vague on it because it's not very it feels like one of those series you're better going into not knowing exactly what's going to happen. I still really like the series. I think Arakawa's got another really interesting premise and well-written characters in this series. Then we've got the only J novel heart, which is Tear Moon Empire, Volume 5. I believe we are... Let's see. I don't think we're past the anime yet. I don't remember because it's been a hot minute since I watched the anime. But we've actually got some realizations that just because Mia is changing so much in the world doesn't mean she's fully safe yet. So she's having to be more proactive and try even harder to change things in her world to prevent her future death, which I am happy that it feels like it's not just an easy, quick solution for her. It feels like she's really having to work to save herself and her kingdom. Then we've got a single One Piece book, which is Tales of the Tendo Family, Volume 4. We've got the Rose Viewing Party, where the main character has to attend kind of fully covered up. And we've got a scheme that happens there, and a lot of things that happen as a result of that scheme. Let's see what else there really is. Aside from that, that's pretty much the main part of this volume, is what happens at the Rose Garden Party. I really enjoy it. It's a very, very drama-heavy series, though. Then we've got a couple Dark Horse releases with Cat Gamer, Volume 6. This is a cute slice of life, so there's not really too much to talk about with it. Just main character playing games, bonding with her cats, trying to essentially take care of two cats and learn how these cats interact with each other and how to best take care of both of them. It's a very cute series, and it's ending fairly soon. Then we've got a one-shot by Pandania called Cthulhu Cat, which is about cats that are essentially just Lovecraftian creatures. And yeah, it isn't just 4-koma. It actually has... It's 4-koma, but it has a full story, explores from beginning to end, which is unique for the Cats series, or the Cat series, because all of them are typically like 4-komas without much ongoing plot, but we have some Lovecraftian plot stuff going on in this volume, so it's a really interesting read, especially because of that. It's not just cute cat stuff this time. Then we've got a Tokyo Pop release, which is If My Favorite Pop Idol Made It to the Budokan, I Would Die, Volume 9. And let's see. We've got Mina actually getting very mainstream popular within the fans of the group because of a really just the most random viral thing happening, and we have Aerpio kind of dealing with her feelings of that and trying to work around that and figure out how she feels about things. I still really enjoy the series. Not too much to say about it because there's a lot of things that happen and a lot of character interactions that I can't really summarize that well. Then we've got a couple of Titan releases with 3 Exorcism Siblings, Volume 3. And let's see. We've got a lot of fights that happen in this volume, but I don't really remember too much specifics, if I'm being frank. I am enjoying this series, and I feel like I'm enjoying it more as time goes on, as the characters develop, and that sort of thing. We have a decent amount of fights. We have a larger threat of the Oni. Is it Tengu? I feel like it actually is Tengu. I really don't remember if it's Tengu or Oni for some reason. We have a large threat introducing itself and kind of setting up stakes for the main characters, even though they already had stakes. And yeah, it's a good series. It's a interesting shonen with decent writing. Then we've got Atom the Beginning, Volume 9, complete with absolutely wacky shit that happens in this volume. Pardon my French, but yeah, this is definitely one I don't want to say too much about. It has to do with the hospital treating a character and then something going wrong after treatment, and a lot of things happening that I can't get into or else it's going to spoil the whole volume. But I think that's everything that I read that I picked up in November. I actually got through a decent number of stuff that came out in previous months. I am going to start with I am going to start with the 3 Pokemon one-shots I read, which is Pokemon Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution, Volcanion and the Mechanical Marvel, and Ranger and the Temple of the Sea. I actually had already watched the movie that Mewtwo Strikes Back Evolution was based on. I think the manga was a decent adaptation of it, though it definitely somehow felt shorter than the movie. It felt like they actually cut stuff out of the movie to make it into a one-volume adaptation, so it's really not my favorite Pokemon one-shot, unfortunately. I guess that's because I haven't watched most of the other Pokemon movies, so I don't know if the manga was a good adaptation of them or not. We've got Volcanion and the Mechanical Marvel, which focuses on this character. Well, I guess it focuses on Volcanion trying to rescue Magearna, I believe its name is, because Volcanion has developed a friendship with Magearna, and they are together wanting to protect. Volcanion wants to rescue Magearna, and Magearna is trying to be used by the evil people who made her and who are behind the development of a mechanical city. And essentially, Volcanion is trying to get her back. The villains are trying to take her and use her for, I don't remember the exact reason. I think it's something to do with energy. Let's see. Yes, trying to use its power to take full control of the mechanical city. It's a decent one-off. Got a lot of heart behind it. We have the Pokemon protecting their housing, or the area they live in, that sort of thing. It's an alright read. Then we've got Pokemon Ranger and the Temple of the Sea, starring, I think it's Manaphy, not Fiona. Yes. They run into, learn about the random. I think Manaphy hatches. I don't remember if it's. Yes. They essentially help save a Manaphy egg that was getting kidnapped by pirates. The Manaphy hatches, and then they are essentially working together with this team involving a Pokemon Ranger and researchers trying to get to the Temple of the Sea to return Manaphy to its home. We have somebody trying to steal Manaphy because he wants to get to the treasure in the Temple of the Sea. I think this is a good adaptation, or a good one-off Pokemon manga. I feel like I prefer it more to the other two, personally, but it was just a decent read overall. Then we finally have the ending of Yu Yu Hakusho. I read volumes 16, 17, 18, and 19, and I definitely can tell the struggle with trying to get everything wrapped up and adapted in these last 4 volumes. It's unfortunate because it really feels like he was struggling to get these parts written out after the Demon Plane opened up, and they are essentially going into a political conflict with figuring out who the new Demon King's going to be, how they're going to decide that, is anybody going to die in the process, that sort of thing. Things wrap up very, very suddenly. Especially, I think it's near the end of the 18th volume, and the 19th volume is kind of just afterwards what happens to everybody, and that sort of thing, like a typical kind of end slate for the shonen series. Unfortunately, the ending does sour Yu Yu Hakusho for a few people. I think I'm a bit included in that, because it feels like if he was able to have more time and was in good health, the ending could have been much better. But I still think it's a worthwhile series with a lot of interesting moments in it. I also finished Magic Knight Ray Earth 2, volumes 2 and 3. Some wacky stuff happens at the end that I can't really spoil, but it had a fairly conclusive, satisfying ending to the series, and I think overall it's helped solidify Magical Knight Ray Earth in my mind as a good series. I think my only problem I usually have with it is just trying to follow the action, because a lot of the characters have very exaggerated large features, and it kind of makes them blend into the action a bit too much for me, so it's hard to read the action personally, but I think that's mostly a me problem. And then lastly, I read a 2-volume series called Red Riding Hood and the Big Sad Wolf, which I got because it's a crying wolf. It's about a crybaby wolf and a Red Riding Hood that really likes to torment him and is very sadistic. It's like a little bit of a romance, a little bit of a slice of life. I thought it was going to be I thought it was going to be 3 volumes, but it's only 2 volumes. It's cute. It's got a lot of fun, silly moments in it. It's worth reading if you're into this sort of thing. I wouldn't say it's amazing, but I think it's pretty good. With that in mind, that is everything that I read in November of 2024. So I will catch everybody next year to talk about what I picked up in December of 2024. Probably with way too many Christmas pickups, because that's how it usually ends up happening for me. But I will talk to everybody later, and thank you all for the support.